Welcome to another video on using Alexa skills. This time we're going to look at Alexa progressive response. We'll do this using Python, and also we'll introduce using async and await commands in that. So I've got a GitHub repo for you again, where you can get all this code, and it's on my website there, and that's the reference to it. I'll put a link to this, or all of this is already in the GitHub repo anyway. So we use progressive responses to tell our user that we're actually working on the request. So if it might take some time to get back, we can tell the user not to panic. So we might be doing a taxi ride or getting a pizza delivery and finding out how long it's going to take. There's some, as usual, complicated Alexa documents on how to do it, and that's here. There's the links here, how to send a progressive response. Here's the steps to do it, and we'll talk your way through those. And down here is the directive that we need to send. So that's what we'll create in our code. So to send the progressive response, you need to get some information from the request that was sent to you. So the API access token and the request ID. You construct the response and send a directive with your speak in it, and then the Alexa device will respond with whatever your speech is, and you can carry on and doing your normal skill processing. And then at the end of all that, once the response call is completed, you can return your full response object. If you want to see another example of this, there's a Double Labs video here. I find these quite useful, but sometimes don't go into the detailing enough. This is also Node.js, so we'll do something in Python here. We'll show you how to call a progressive response. Then I'll access a website and deliberately add a delay to show that it's really working. Okay, so the steps to go through are here. If you've done it using an Alexa hosted skill, create a new skill. I've called it progressive response. And within that, I've added a new intent. So I've called it get astronauts. I'm not going to go through all this. I've already got the code created. You don't want to see me typing away badly here. So I've created a custom intent. I've added some utterances, things like how many astronauts in space, how many people in space, that sort of thing. So the JSON that's created is here in this, and it's also in my progressive response GitHub as well. So everything you need is here. So let's just go through and see what we've got. So I've created it here. This is the model. Here's at the Json Editor, and in the Json Editor you can see this is where the new intent's been added and the utterances. So I'll go through it and I'll just save the model and build the model. Okay. To do the web access, well, you need this AIO HTTP, and we'll need to import that. So because of that, we'll need to go to our code, and in requirements.txt, you need to add this AIO HTTP to the list of things we need that need to be imported. Okay, so in the code here, I've actually told you in step by step what we need to do. So we've modified the JSON, we've added the requirement text. Okay, so the next thing to do is to add the imports that we're going to use. We need the async IO to do the await and async waits to get the web page. We need the JSON to extract some the JSON data that we get back. And I've imported time because I had a delay. So we can see that we've added those there. And then the next thing to do is to add the libraries we need for the progressive response. So that's all here, and that's well documented somewhere. Then we're going to add a couple of functions that we need. So we need the progressive response function. So this gets the information that I just mentioned, the request ID and the speech directive, and creates the request and then sends the request. So this, I've got this as an async here. I don't think so. Oh, sorry, wrong one. It's this one here. That's fine. So that's one. The other one we got is the request to go and get the website. Now that comes from this AI OHTTP site where we're using it as a client, and I've just slightly modified this code to do that. So this will run asynchronously. Go back to my code. So when we run async and awaits, what we're going to do is we're going to send a request to the web page here. We're going to get the URL, and we're going to wait until that response comes back. So when we've got an await, we can only put that into an async function, and we can only call an async function actually in one of three ways, and I'll show you where we call that in a bit of the code. So we've added the two functions that we need. We can change the launch request code just to say, to prompt the user. Here's the launch request. So I've just said, you can ask how many people in space. And I've done the same for the Hello World handler as well. Okay. So now we need to add our intent code for our, just one thing before we get down to adding that. When you add these froms, we've got a special custom skill builder which uses the API client. So at the end of our code, you'll find that we've already got this line SB equals skill builder. You need to comment that out. I'll make sure we do that in a bit. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is add the get astronauts intent code. And what that does, that sets up the URL to get the intent. It calls the progressive response, which we'll see what that says in a minute. And then we call our async IO run to get the information from the URL. When that comes back, we extract some data, just do some things there, form the speech text that says there are currently how many people in space, and our normal response. So we don't need that there. And so this is our intent handler. The get progressive response, we pass the handler input. That extracts the information we want, the request ID holder. And all I'm doing here is my speech is okay, wait, there should be some SSML speech. So it uses this speech directive to create that, and that's called in up here, along with the header. Okay. So the final thing we need to do then, at the bottom of the code here, is to comment out our skill builder, comment that was there, and add the astronauts intent handler. Just make sure that that, of course, is the same as, as that, and that this bit here is the same as whatever you've called your intent. Just I've not made any changes, but save or just deploy that so we get the latest version. And that's everything we need to do. We can save, deploy, and we can test it in the developer console. So we don't need that. We've seen that. Don't need that anymore. So in the developer console, it's now tested. It's now deployed, sorry, we'll test it and we'll see what happens. I've already put it into development to test this out already. So I called it progressive response.
You can ask for how many people in space.
How many, how do you spell it? People in space. Now you know why you don't want to watch me typing. Now here's the delay. The developer console doesn't work properly because everything comes back. There are currently
10 people in space.
Together. That's interesting. It was only 6 yesterday or this morning, so we've got some more people in space now. So the developer console doesn't quite work properly, but if we go and try it on our Alexa, I've got Alexa on my PC here. Alexa, open progressive response. Alexa, open progressive response.
Hi, you can ask for how many people in
space. That time it comes back immediately. Here's the delay. Well, we've got...
I'm not sure. You can say hello or help. What would you like to do?
Alexa, open progressive response.
I'm not sure.
Alexa, open progressive response.
I'm not sure. You can say hello or help. What would you like to do?
Well, that's interesting. I don't know why that works. It worked before. Alexa, open progressive response.
I'm not sure. You can say hello or help. What would you like to do?
Right, well, I'll come back and try
Ask for how many people in space.
How many people in space?
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
Alexa, open progressive response.
Hi, you can ask for how many people in space.
How many people in space?
Okay, wait.
There's the wait.
There are currently 10 people in space.
And finally it gets there. I don't know why it didn't work before. So anyway, it does work. It doesn't work properly in the developer console, but it does work properly. There's some discussion here also about how we'll await for the web response. In our code, just go back to the code a minute. I'll show you that we've got a long delay before we go and get the information from the website. So I've added this time sleep here. You don't need that if you need to. So I've just added that there. So that's where we get our response. So there's some discussion on async and await, which was a bit took me a problem getting that working in Python. And here's what the JSON response looks like, or part of it that we get. So that's all for now. I hope that's been useful. Sorry about the bit at the end, but we do get there in the end. Okay, thanks for watching.